So I'll be talking about the UAE supply chain and specifically talking about the supply chains on the franchisees of various industries. So my theme of the presentation, this will be covering about the introduction, talking about the franchisees and the complexities and the global supply chains of various franchises. Then I'll be linking both the franchisees and the supply chain together to give you a rather solution on how basically, as a logistics provider, we can add value. As far as my introduction is concerned, I'll just give you a brief. I'm a master's in supply chain from United Kingdom, 15 plus years of experience in various multinational companies. I specialize in country management, agency setup and service quality, sales and business development, operations and management, project implementation, supply chain solutions and key account management. In August 2014, that was last year, I started my new journey to become an entrepreneur. So this is rather something which is also something which I wanted to do in my career, and this opportunity I got in just last year, and there are several people behind it and how I basically turned into a true entrepreneur. I ventured with the Texture Group. It's a property and investment conglomerate, one of the most reputed and prestigious organizations in the Middle East, to establish a company named as Texture Global Shipping. It's known as TGS as well. So this is our company logo and named as Texture Global Shipping. So the company's vision, as we move towards our goal of being a world-class logistics service provider, we want to basically bring our customers engage into more proximity to their products and movements through visibility and technological advancements. We will maximize the return to our investors while still maintaining quality in our services. This is our vision. And our mission statement, I'm just going through it just for everyone to know about TGS. As a logistics service provider, our direction to the path of success lies in the following: to bring connectivity of all stakeholders closer, to offer most effective solutions to our customers, to service all locations around the world. This has been the vision of our group. To be in the list of top 5 global players in the world. I know this is a statement I'm making here, but it's not impossible. This can be achieved. Not today, maybe after 5 years, 10 years in the row. So this is my brief introduction and the company introduction. Now I'll talk about the agenda and the objective of my presentation today. So to start with, I'll show you a supply chain stereotype chart, just to give you an idea about the supply chain stereotype, how it looks. Everyone talks about supply chain. What is supply chain? Supply chain is nothing but a connection between a supplier, a manufacturer, and a customer. As a logistics provider, I see as we can do everything, right? All the 3PL, they basically integrate all the suppliers and the customers. They offer the ERPs, they do the manufacturing, they do the integration and everything. But this is just a stereotype concept which we have all seen for a long time. Now I'm going to link this stereotype supply chain with the franchises. Just to go through this, you have read the introduction and the definition of franchising. Franchising may be defined as business arrangement with the franchisor or a reputable goodwill, like innovation and technological and technical know-how, having everything being transformed and transitioned to the person who is basically based in this region, as an example. So we call that company as a franchisee. but franchisee, and they give all the rights, the trademarks, and the services to perform their businesses. And in this region, this is the very common way of conducting business in this part of the world. There are two types of franchising which we have basically, I've gone through a lot of theories and a lot of studies has gone into it. Number one is the product distribution. Product distribution is simply like doing the distribution, giving the rights of the trademark, and asking that particular company to do the distribution for their company, which is based in somewhere in outside the world. And the other one is business format. Business format is the most common franchise concept in this region. So when we see product distribution, it likes car distribution, mainly Toyota and Honda and all these companies, they are doing product distribution. The business format concept is basically, it's covered like Marks and Spencer, Gap, all these kind of customers, they are following the concept of business format. I've been doing the research on this quite a bit, and what I found is basically there are various verticals, and these verticals basically fall into the business format. And which are the popular most franchises? I've just taken the brands, I'm not going to name them, but I'll just name the industry. So the restaurants is one of the major business format franchises. We see KFC, McDonald's in this region, and Pizza Hut, of course. Then we have lodging, it's Marriott, and there are a lot of chains like this in this part of the world. The maintenance and cleaning industry, you have health and beauty, you have retail. Retail, you will see a lot of brands into this. Automotive services, education training, real estate. There are several companies who want to invest in this part of the world and give the rights to the franchisee. Then business services. This is just to give you an idea of the franchise and the franchises. There are difference, I want to talk about the difference between the various supply chains. When you see this chart, it comes into your mind that, okay, in 1960s and before that, how the supply chain concept basically been handled. We used to see various departments in 1960s, right? Demand forecasting, purchasing, requirements planning, production planning, manufacturing, inventory, all these used to be conducted at that level separately, and that was in 1960s and beyond. But what we see, the change which has come in this, from 1960 till now, it has been evolved into various segments. We saw 1980s. When I talk about this chart, I'm also referring to the North America region and as well as the European region, because we are basically adapting all the processes from that part of the world and trying to implement in this region. So evolving the integration, and from 1980s we saw there were different concepts like inbound logistics and outbound logistics, and later on we saw the 1990s came when we focused on only the supply chain, and that was the logistics. The logistic concept came, and we started introducing these courses in the universities. So this was the concept. The reason I'm sharing this with you, I just want to link the franchise, the first one which I showed, the stereotype supply chain. Then now you will see what basically I'm going towards. This will be very interesting to know, the global supply chain of franchises and the global franchising. The key issue right now, what franchisees face in this part of the world, is how to integrate between the material flow and information flow as accurate as possible. This is the key issue which all the franchisees are facing, which the 3PL has to basically resolve all the time, right? So what I have basically experienced in the past, and how the integration between the material flow and the information flow can be done smoothly. This is something which I'm going to show in the next slide. that how critical it is to basically manage the supply chain of the franchisee. So when I go into the next slide, you will see a chart which shows the material flow and the information flow. This has been the critical for any franchisee who is operating in this part of the world. Basically, Middle East is all about the franchisee business. So when we are given a new franchisee, I will talk about the new strategy, the new product, so how the 3PL can perform 100%. So this is something which the 3PL has to understand in this part of the world, that the franchisee supply chain is the most challenging supply chain. And when we talk about the suppliers, of course the brand at the origin, they will know everything about their processes and everything, but the franchisee will not be aware of it. So the franchisee responsibility lies to coordinate well with the 3PL and to make sure that the information is passing on as accurate as possible. So the value chain linking the supply chain and the business strategy of the franchise. We know that there are many investors who want to invest in this part of the world. They want to have their own franchise, but when they see, okay, the franchise, okay, how the brands will function in this part of the world, they want their own, they have their own requirements of the logistics. So when I say we, I'm talking about TGS. So TGS basically can offer something which is unique. We work very closely as far as the strategy is concerned of the brand and new product strategy, the marketing strategy and the supply chain strategy. This needs to work hand in hand with the brand and the franchisee who is present in this part of the world. So when you see all these concepts, it gives you an idea that, okay, there is one automobile, we construct, basically if you talk about Toyota, they have one car which is manufactured somewhere in Japan or in China. So they just send from, they transport from that part of the world to Dubai or any other country in this region. So that basically that car has been, thousands of suppliers are involved into that car. In the next slide, I'm going to show that how it functions. Basically, it's not one car, but it's like thousands of suppliers. How to manage those suppliers? This is supply chain structure and tiering, which is very, very common, and we all know that how to basically do the supply management, the integration of the ERP between the brand, the franchisee, and as well as the 3PL. So the integration between all these systems is unique. So when we see this car, we see a lot of suppliers who are basically coordinating, and they are sending those cars material as a raw material to the manufacturers at one place. So managing all those raw materials is a key. So if you see the car, the exterior, the seat, the bonnet, and everything is basically transported. So this transportation is fairly complex. It's not easy for the supply chain, and the supply chain for a car manufacturer includes hundreds of origins, hundreds of suppliers, and dozens of manufacturing plants, for parts, assembly plants, for cars, dealer, direct business customers, wholesalers, customers. So everything is like, basically we are integrating this. So this key word is integration is required in the entire complex supply chain. We have heard about the competitive advantage. I was making this presentation, the word came into mind, logistics advantage. So why not focus on the logistics advantage and what TGS can offer in this part of the world. So basically I'm talking about the controlling variability. I know it's fairly complex again, but this complexity can be managed if we have a control on all the suppliers. We know the key contact people in the supply chain. We know the manufacturers who are involved in that. So basically we are integrating, we are controlling the time frame, which is the key for any customer. So the customer, if he's asking for transit time, say for 50 days, he wants the handover of all those products. So basically, as a 3PL, we can do is we can manage the variability. So it's not only talking about one concept, one supply chain. It's concept of all the supply chains. So this is just to give you an idea and just to explain how the global supply chain and the franchisees and integration. So it's fairly fair to say it's not easy, but it's complex, but it's very, very interesting. Then I'm going to talk about the advantages in UAE doing the franchising business. Dubai is the strategic location located at the center of the Far East and the Europe. This is the key word which we hear from all over in the Middle East. The gateway to the world's most progressive markets. We have hubs here. In DWC, we have hubs. We are doing the CAIR, we have the custom clearance, we are doing the re-exports in this part of the world. The world-class infrastructure is in place in DWC, that is the Al Maktoum International Airport, the Khalifa Port, which is being constructed in Abu Dhabi, Dubai Logistics City, the logistics corridor, which I just mentioned about the CAIR corridor. Hosting of the 2020, this will be the key for this region, and strong growth of volume in the trade lane between Europe and Asia. Global franchising, it like challenges and risks, which in my view, in my personal view, I could say there can be cultural differences, there can be consumer acceptance and local competition, legal consideration and time frame. There are some products which you cannot move from anywhere in the world to some in Saudi Arabia. You have some requirements, documentation requirements, product specification which the brand has to change, and the franchisee based in that region has to ensure that those products and the product specifications are basically as per to the local law and requirements. So this is just to share with you the global franchising challenges. UAE franchise market, what I see is a market dominated by American brands and French brands, mostly fast food and fashion retail sectors. Over 70% of UAE franchise markets from American brands. The franchise market in the Middle East is estimated to be valued at around $30 billion, which is a lot, and it is growing. I'm going to show you in the next slide how much it has grown from 2012 till 2014 and 15. So these are the top brands in this region. Basically, it's the latest annual brand index, Buzz rankings by YouGov, rating number 1 as Samsung brand, and Emirates and Google, Apple and Carrefour. Global retail industry in UAE and what 3PL has played role in this part of the world. We have around 70 shopping malls in Dubai, which is the shopping capital of the Middle East. This was just last year it was announced, and estimated 850 local and international brands. I'm just sharing this slide to give you the potential of this region and this market. Second to London with the highest percentage of international retailers, which is unique. A report from Dubai FDI shows that UAE's retail sector is estimated to grow around 32.9% from AED 114 billion in 2012 to reach 151 billion dirhams by 2015. I'm going to show you some brands which they will be opening up in this year. These are the global brands. Lululemon Athletica, it's a Canadian brand. It's a clothing brand. They'll be opening up mid of this year in Dubai. M Group is a seafood chain. It's a New York brand, a New York restaurant. It's going to open this year as well. And All Saints, it's a clothing brand of UK. It has also planned to open in this year. So this is just to give you an example. The brands are still coming up here in this part of the world. Business growth and export 3PL role to handle such franchising. What TGS as 3PL can create logistics advantage? The keyword which I have mentioned previously. There are three basic ways. I think all the 3PLs they follow that, but this is just to emphasize. Number one is the quality, time, and the cost. We offer what we offer is competitive price, reduced lead time, and excellent service quality. This has been the key for us to basically be unique with the different companies. Now I'll go to the conclusion. Conclusion is, I think it's fair enough to say the integration and close teamwork is required to achieve the best quality and operation excellence, the competitive cost, and the reduced lead time. So this is something which we have learned and we have experienced in the past, that how the integration and the cost the close teamwork can basically achieve. Okay, thank you very much. I think I've covered most of the points. I'm open for questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wajeeh. Now I think we have time for a few questions for Mr. Wajeeh. Who wants to ask him about? I think he made a good presentation about franchises and how global supply integration can be utilized in this business. So, any questions from the floor for Mr. Wajeeh? I think he covered everything, and actually he finished just on time. So he did everything just on perfect. So probably this is why there is no question. Thank you very much, Mr. Wajeeh.